Nolan King here for MMA Junkie, and I'm being joined by the #1 ranked UFC light heavyweight in the world, according to the UFC rankings. That should have been champion in a lot of people's eyes. We got Dom Reyes here. Dom, how's the quarantine life treating you? How are you doing during the pandemic, man?
I'm good, man. Just hanging out. A lot of yard work. My house is extremely clean, and I can't get in the gym and work out with my teammates, but I can work out at home, so it's going well.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, we're all just trying to kill time, and cleaning all of a sudden becomes fun. So that's where we're at in the world, and we haven't had the chance to talk to you for a little while since UFC 247 that night. So I guess in the last couple months, man, how have you been doing? How have things changed for you? The last time we spoke, which was right before the fight, you said that you felt like staying true to yourself through that whole process of the fight would be what had the best outcome for you in the end. So I just wanted to kind of get a post-mortem from you on that. It seems like it worked out pretty well for you to kind of stay true, huh?
Yeah, man. I mean, what's better than staying true to yourself, There's so many different ways we could go in life and so many different things we could do. So staying true to yourself is the only thing that's like real, And for me, staying true to myself and fighting, true to myself, like it didn't matter what he did. It didn't matter what anybody said. It was all about, what I was going to do. And it was my journey. So it worked out well, man. I didn't get the nod that night, according to those judges, but in my heart, I know I won that fight.
Yeah, and a lot obviously has happened both in the world and the MMA world and the physical world since that time. But let's just start off with the most recent news. I kind of want to get your reaction. Last night the UFC announced that they're going to be resuming events on May 9th. They're going to be trying to put cards together. So I guess how far out at what point do you feel like Dom Reyes will throw his name in the queue to say, hey, I'm ready to start taking fights again?
I'm thinking early fall, but we have to wait for all these these cards to go through, and there's a bunch of stuff that needs to get taken care of. Plus, we got to batten down that rematch. So for me, it's just about waiting for operations to resume so I could get back to talking with the brass about exactly what we need to do going forward.
Yeah, and everybody says it takes two to tango, but it kind of takes three. You got to get the UFC on board too. So has there been any signaling from them in terms of their interest in this rematch? Is it something that they seem like they're in on? Obviously you're in on it. Jon has said that he would be willing to rematch. So do you think the UFC is on board with that?
Yeah, I know the UFC is on board. I know I'm on board. But the issue is Jon right now. So, I mean, he's going to say he's down, online, obviously on Twitter, but when he gets those contracts in front of him, it's a little different. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, and obviously a lot's happened with him too. When you went on the internet or somebody texted you and you saw the news about him, his arrest, all that went down. I guess what was your initial reaction when that headline popped up?
Again, like that was my initial reaction, like this guy again. But yeah.
And going along with that, was when that news broke, was there a part of you like, man, this rematch may never happen now? Do you feel a certain sense that that's the guy that you have to take the belt from in order for it to be wrapped around your waist and for you to feel good about it?
Well, shit, man, I want to run it back. I feel like I was wronged on February 8th. I can't I'm not okay with that. I'm not just living my life like, oh yeah, it's cool, I got robbed, I'm not gonna do anything about it. I want to rematch him. I want to fight him again with judges who are a little more competent. But
yeah, you talked about the hesitation with him. You said you don't know if he's on board. What do you think that is? Do you feel like he wants to fight somebody else before he fights you? Do you feel like he's trying to avoid the matchup? Like, what do you think what can you attribute that to?
Yeah, it was a straight dogfight. Our last fight was a pure dogfight. I mean, I don't think he wants to do that again. So I don't know. I don't think he wants these hands again. I don't think he wants to get in this dogfight again. So that's where we're at.
And do you feel like with obviously the legal side of his recent arrest, he pled guilty and he was handed his punishment. Do you think that will interfere at all with the matchup? Like, will the UFC try to intervene at all to hand out some additional punishment, or do you feel like it'll be you'll be able to fight him around the regular time frame that you would have been able to?
I mean, as of right now, it's looking that way. Like it's going to be fine. I don't, like I said, I don't know what's going to happen. We got to wait for all this COVID-19 stuff and everything, so they can make decisions. You know, like they have to figure out what they want to do with him. Hopefully, they don't punish him, so I could get that rematch, you know, pretty quickly or right on my timeline. If not, you know, I'm the number one guy, so we'll figure it out.
And you talked about wanting to come back in the fall. Is that partially due to this pandemic, not being able to have a proper training camp? Is that really what that's about?
Yeah, that's a lot to do with it, but at the same time, it was looking like that anyway because these negotiations were taking a good amount of time. So.
Right. So you're maybe not missing out on as much as other fighters, but you know, I guess my next question for you would be if this thing does get delayed or whatever, like, you know, your mind's pretty set on this. It wouldn't, you know, if the UFC comes to you with an offer and says, hey, you know, Jon won't fight you, he wants to fight, you know, somebody else. Would you take another fight, or would you kind of just have to cross that bridge when you get to it?
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, man. We'll see what happens. But I don't know, man. I don't know how this guy sleeps at night and not having a rematch for real. Like, you know, he doesn't sleep at night, so I don't know, man. I know it's keeping him up at night. You know, every time he tries to say something or do something, fans, you know, are calling for that rematch. So we'll see. If he wanted to stop, he needs to rematch me. That's pretty much what it is.
And one downside to waiting until this pandemic ends, you won't be able to fight on Fight Island. Are you kind of bummed about that? You feel like that's a you know, a downside?
Bro, I was pumped, bro. I was coming in off the heli drop straight to the octagon.
Yeah, man, no doubt. That would be you know, a sight to see. It's definitely a historic, you know, that would be an historic event. It's weird times in the sport, but I guess my final question for you before I let you go, for all the fans that are watching, you know, how confident are you that in 2020, you and Jon Jones will step in the cage again?
I'm pretty damn confident. I'm very confident. See, on a percentage, about a 90,
Sure.
90 something percent chance in the 90s that happens in 2020.
I love it, man. Well, I for one, I'm looking forward to it if it happens, and appreciate the time again, Dom. Get back to the quarantine life, and we'll be talking again soon, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Nolan. Can't wait to get back in there, man, and throw these things for real.